Shabbat Shalom. Oops, just a second. I forgot about these, and I'm going to need them later. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm Rabbi Aviva Bass from Temple Sinai of Palm Beach County in Delray Beach, Florida. My Bima partner, Cantor Jake Harris, is off tonight, but he is looking forward to spending tomorrow evening with all of you at the virtual gala, which is called For the Love of Sinai, at 8 p.m. tomorrow. I hope you'll join us for that. We're going to start our service tonight with the candles and Kiddush, and I'd like to honor Helene and Sydney Wartell because it is their anniversary, their wedding anniversary week. So Sydney and Helene, what number anniversary are you celebrating?
125.
That's even more than the 120 I was going to wish you.
48.
48. Wow, it's getting close to that golden.
I know.
That's great. That's wonderful. Okay, so take it away, Helene. Thank you.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
And for the Kiddush, V'yerev v'boker yom hashishi. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagofen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'yachava v'ratzon yihilanu. Zicharanu ma'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom tehillah l'makari kodesh. Zecher l'tziat mitzrayim. Ki banu v'hata v'otanu kidashta v'kol amim v'shabbat kodsha v'yachava v'ratzon hichaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for the honor, Rabbi.
Beautiful. Happy anniversary, and may you have many, many more.
Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We turn now to our first opening song, Yadid Nephesh. And if you have a Mishkan Tefillah, that is on page 128. 128. Yadid Nephesh of Rahman, Yadid Nephesh of Rahman, Mishachav decha, El Ritzonecha, Mishachav decha. Shabbat. I'd like to start our service with some good news. We have some good news in our community. Warren Weiss's granddaughter, Rebecca Thau, was accepted to rabbinical school. So we're going to have another rabbi in our midst. I don't think she lives locally, but congratulations, Warren, Mazel Tov to you and your family. That's a wonderful accomplishment, and I wish her good luck and wonderful time on her journey. And so now I'm going to deliver a few other brief announcements of the donors for this week's service. Tonight's Erev Shabbat service is sponsored by Rebecca Littman in memory of her beloved mother, Sarah Abramowitz, Joan and Leonard Weiser in memory of Stephen Scorman and Milton Scorman, Seema and Ed Greenblatt in memory of Seema's father, Rahmin Namordi, Ronnie Richman and Jay Hammerman in honor of Ronnie's birthday. Happy birthday, Ronnie. And David and Lori Cotton in memory of David's beloved mother, Betty Ann Cotton. Our Saturday, March 13th Shabbat Torah study is sponsored by Irving Mackless in memory of his wife, Carolyn, Jane Brown in memory of her beloved father, David Pasternak. And the following donations to the community food pantries are sponsored by Ethel Greenblatt in memory of Dorothy Dublin, Marilyn and Stephen Carter in memory of Bertha Yankowitz, Seema and Ed Greenblatt in memory of Seema's father, Rahmin Namordi, Jane Brown in memory of her beloved father, David Pasternak, and Harriet Meyer in memory of her beloved parents, George and Anna Morantz. Zichronam livracha, may all of those for whom you have donated in their memories be for a blessing. And thank you to all of our sponsors. And now we start our Kabbalat Shabbat service in earnest with Lecha Dodi, which is on page 138. We are going to do tonight we'll sing verses 1, 2, 3, and 9. So a little change there, just to keep you on your toes. Please join me.
The
Let's remain standing, those who are able to do so, as we turn to the Baruch on page 146. Please take a seat. We turn to page 149. Please join me at the top of the page in the English. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari v'aravim. We turn to page 150, as we now turn to God in our particular way as Jews, as we recall the giving of the Torah and God's love for us through it. Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Ahavta Torah Mitzvot Chukim Mishpatim Otanu Al Kein Adonai Eloheinu B'Shachmeinu V'Kumeinu Nasiach B'Chukecha V'Nismach B'Divrei Toratecha U'V'Mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki hem Chayenu ve'orech yameinu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla ve'avatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. On page 152, together we chant Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai If you stood for the Shema, you may be seated as we turn to Ve'ahavta on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha ub'chol nafshecha ub'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtacha b'veit ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We next come to the Mi Chamocha, which is what the Israelites sang as they rejoiced for coming through the Sea of Reeds, for coming through their misery in slavery in Mitzrayim, the tight, narrow space. Many of us have been in a narrow space for quite some time. And I think one way that we can relate, especially now, to this idea of being in a tight space, of feeling like you almost cannot breathe into wide, open, free spaces, is to think about what we've been through this year. And now think about that light at the end of the tunnel. Think about, God willing, having that barbecue outside on the 4th of July with friends and family, or gathering with your neighbors and friends who've also been vaccinated, of course, carefully, but being able to be together, being able to give loved ones hugs again. All of those things can evoke this feeling of just wide open gratitude and joy. And so that's what I'd like you to think about as we come now to the Mi Chamocha, and that is on page 158 if you have the Mishkan Tefillah. Please join me in the Mi Chamocha. וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גוי ישראל. And we're ready now for the tefillah beginning on page 164. We will begin together and then go into a moment of silent meditation, and then we'll conclude together with the Ritzeh. Please rise on page 164 for tefillah. Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach, Ufia Gitahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, let my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Gula livnei b'neihem, Leman Shemo b'Ahava, Melech Ozer Mashiach u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atarav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim berofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umkayem emunato lishenei afar, Micha mocha bagevurot, Umidam melach, Melech memit u'mechaye, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanat halachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh, Shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom ya'alelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We turn now to the Torah service. We are going to have a Torah reading tonight. And our Torah reading tonight is actually from the very end of the book of Shemot, of the book of Exodus. And we have a double portion tonight. I'll be talking about it a little bit later in my drash. Oops. But for now, what we're going to do is hear the Torah reading. And I'd like to call up anyone who wishes to really stand for this Aliyah. If you feel in a celebratory mood, as I do tonight, if you are looking forward to tomorrow night's gala, which I am, if you have any reason to rejoice tonight, or alternatively, if you could use some of that celebratory feeling from some of the rest of the congregation who are feeling it tonight, and you could use to take that in. Anyone who wishes to do so, please rise or rise in spirit for this Aliyah. Ya'amdu, please stand up. Anyone who wishes to stand for this Aliyah, for this Aliyah. And now we say the Bracha. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Amen. Vayechal Moshe et hamlacha, vayechas he'anan et ohel moed, uchevod Adonai maleh et hamishkan, velo yachol Moshe lavo el ohel moed, ki shachan alav he'anan, uchevod Adonai maleh et hamishkan, uv he'alot he'anan me'al hamishkan, yis'u b'nei Yisrael b'chol mas'ehem, v'im lo ye'aleh he'anan, v'lo yis'u ad yom he'alto, ki anon Adonai al hamishkan yomam ve'esh tiyeh laila bo le'enei kol beit Yisrael b'chol masehem. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and we shall be strengthened from within. And we say that because we're at the very end of the book. And so now I'm going to read you a translation. This translation comes from the JPS translation, so if you have a Plout, it may be slightly different. When Moses had finished the work, the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the presence of Adonai filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting because the cloud had settled upon it, and the presence of Adonai filled the tabernacle. When the cloud lifted from the tabernacle, the Israelites would set out on their various journeys. But if the cloud did not lift, they would not set out until such time as it did lift. For over the tabernacle a cloud of Adonai rested by day, and fire would appear in it by night, in the view of all the house of Israel throughout their journeys. And now we say the closing bracha for the Aliyah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'dochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. And now a Misha Beirach for all of us. Misha Beirach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May the Holy One of Blessing who blessed all our ancestors bless all of us who have come up today in honor of God, in honor of Torah, in honor of Shabbat, and in honor of our commitment to our sacred Jewish community. May we all be guided to a place in which we feel the freedom that we sang about in the Mi Chamocha, and where we feel the ha'enan, the cloud that descends upon us during the day and fire by night to guide us through our journeys. May we always feel that presence, and may we feel secure in our community together. May God grant us good, long, healthy lives filled with joy, peace, and love in our homes, and success in all of our labors, along with all of our family and friends, and along with the entire house of Israel. And let us say Amen. Please take a seat. At this time, we are going to think of those who are in need of healing of body, of mind, of spirit, or of all three. So if you have a name or names of those you are thinking of who are in need of such healing, please say their names aloud now. And as we put the names on the screen of those that we know of who are in need of healing, we prepare to sing the Misha Beirach. Misha Beirach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim. Misha Beirach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov As I mentioned earlier in our service, this week we read a double portion in our Torah, Parshat Vaychel Pikudei, the first two portions of the book of Shemot, the last two portions of the book of Shemot of Exodus. The first of these portions begins with Moses commanding the entire Israelite community as to the observance of Shabbat. And then Moses tells the people that God commanded those of them whose heart so moves them to bring gifts to be used in the building of the tabernacle. The second Parsha, Pikudei, and the end of the entire book of Shemot concludes with Moses finishing the work of setting up the tabernacle with the Luchot Habrit, the tablets of the law inside, placing the curtain and erecting a screen outside the entrance of the tabernacle. The last paragraph of the book of Exodus reads, "Over the tabernacle a cloud of the Lord, or of Adonai, rested by day, and fire would appear in it by night, in the view of all the house of Israel throughout their journeys." How amazing that must have been. Can you imagine? To always know God's presence was there, as a cloud by day and fire by night, accompanying us through our journeys through the wilderness. Now, of course, we do not have such ascertainable displays of divinity. We must muddle through our life journeys, not knowing for sure if we are journeying in the right direction, if we are taking the correct path, or if God is with us as we move forward. Last year, when I spoke about this portion, this double portion, it was the beginning of the pandemic, and I suggested ways in which we can remain spiritually centered despite the chaos around us. Now, a year later, while we certainly have reason to grieve all the loss, we also have great reason to celebrate here at Temple Sinai. This congregation has risen to the occasion, frankly surpassing my expectations. We've found new ways to connect with one another, and we've proven that Temple Sinai is not a community by virtue of who gathers within the walls of our synagogue building, but rather because of who we are in relationship with one another. And that is stronger than ever. I've been moved beyond words, witnessing how much you truly care about one another and how you have managed to be there for each other, whether on Zoom Shiva or driveway minions, or simply reaching out to others who may be feeling lonely or depressed. The bonds we've created at Temple Sinai have not only endured, but have grown stronger as we have weathered this storm together. Just a moment, we have a little technical difficulties. Okay. One of the greatest ways we can find our sense of spirituality is to recognize our interconnectedness with one another and with the entire world. When we demonstrate compassion, we are letting the divinity within each of us become more manifest. I'd like to close my thoughts tonight with a story about compassion, interconnectedness, and giving. This week, someone posted this story to Facebook and attributed it to Katharine Hepburn. And I'd like to read her story in her own words as they were cited in this post. Once, when I was a teenager, my father and I were standing in line to buy tickets for the circus. Finally, there was only one other family between us and the ticket counter. This family made a big impression on me. There were 8 children, all probably under the age of 12. The way they were dressed, you could tell that they didn't have a lot of money, but their clothes were neat and clean. The children were well behaved, all of them standing in line 2 by 2 behind their parents, holding hands. They were excitedly jabbering about the clowns, animals, and all the acts that they would be seeing that night. By their excitement, you could sense that they'd never been to the circus before. It would be the highlight of their lives. The father and mother were at the head of the pack, standing proud as could be. The mother was holding her husband's hand, looking up at him as if to say, "You're my knight in shining armor." He was smiling and enjoying seeing his family happy. The ticket lady asked the man how many tickets he wanted. He proudly responded, "I'd like to buy 8 children's tickets and 2 adult tickets so I can take my family to the circus." The ticket lady stated the price. The man's wife let go of his hand. Her head dropped. The man's lip began to quiver. Then he leaned a little closer and asked, "How much did you say?" The ticket lady again stated the price. The man didn't have enough money. How was he supposed to turn and tell his 8 kids that he didn't have enough money to take them to the circus? Seeing what was going on, my dad reached into his pocket, pulled out a $20 bill, and then dropped it on the ground. My father bent down, picked up the $20 bill, tapped the man on the shoulder, and said, "Excuse me, sir, this fell out of your pocket." The man understood what was going on. He wasn't begging for a handout, but certainly appreciated the help in a desperate, heartbreaking, and embarrassing situation. He looked straight into my dad's eyes, took my dad's hand in both of his, squeezed tightly on the $20 bill, and with his lip quivering and a tear streaming down his cheek, he replied, "Thank you, sir. This really means a lot to me and my family." My father and I went back to our car and drove home. The $20 that my dad gave away is what we were going to use to buy our own tickets with. Although we didn't get to see the circus that night, we both felt a joy inside us that was far greater than seeing the circus could ever provide. That day, I learned the value to give. The giver is bigger than the receiver. If you want to be large, larger than life, learn to give. Love has nothing to do with what you are expecting to get, only with what you are expecting to give, which is everything. The importance of giving, blessing others, can never be overemphasized because there's always joy in giving. Learn to make someone happy by acts of giving. So said Katharine Hepburn in her book, Everything Good in the World. This Shabbat, let us recognize that we have much to celebrate together. I love Temple Sinai. And if you're watching the service tonight, I'm guessing you do too. As your rabbi, I am grateful to serve such a real, down-to-earth, nice, kind, and caring community. As we begin the weekend of our gala celebration, let's rejoice together, recognizing that God is indeed in our midst, in the bonds that we have maintained with one another, for the love of Sinai. And with that idea of giving in mind, we rise now for the Eloheinu prayer, page 586. If you are standing, please take a seat. We've now come to this somber place in our service when we think of those who are no longer with us. We begin by reciting those names of those whose yahrzeits, the anniversary of their passing, occur at this time, and whose names are on the plaques surrounding our sanctuary. Sarah Abramowitz, Annabelle Baden, Wendy Sanders Bahar, Gerald Bone, Claire Chester, Francis P. Cohen, Dorothy Dublin, Frederick Howard Einhorn, Beverly Margot Elliott, Samuel Feldman, David Gerstenzang, Louis Gilbert, Louis Goldner, Edwin B. Gordon, Isaac Green, Ruth Hart, Louis Hirsch, Mary Canfer, Samuel Levy, Robert E. Link, Leon S. Marks, Rahmin Namordi, Dr. Albert Palmer, Lester Rosenblum, Samuel Rothstein, Anna R. Shapiro, Maury Shapiro, Benjamin Sperling, Saul S. Stein, Rosalind Sussman, Pauline Tavlin, Herman Tiemann, Saul Toscher, Irving Wax, and Milton Weisenberg. Others recalled at this time: Molly Baymel, Florence Dater, Fritzie Hirsch, Sidney Kachurin, Jerome Lang, Jack Lubart, Carolyn Mackless, Abraham Nelson, David Pasternak, Harry Pollock, Dr. Alvin Shangold, Anne Sigmund, Milton Scorman, Stephen Scorman, Frank Stein, Edith Turner, Bertha Yankowitz, and David Young. Those whose deaths are more recent, in the last 30 days, our member Simon Braitman, Marcia DeVasto, Paulette Karen, Paul Nathan, and Norman Bergstein. Zichronam Livracha. If you have a name or names of people you're thinking of now whom I have not named, please say their names aloud now. And so now we rise as we recall all of those who perished, who were murdered, and whose names we cannot remember because they are too numerous, those 6 million in the Shoah. We rise in solidarity with mourners everywhere on page 598 as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divarach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon uvyomechon Uvachaye decho Beit Yisrael Ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olal me'almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shalom araba bin shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn among us and in all communities of the world. And let us all say, Amen. Please take a seat. As a closing song tonight, I would like to invite you to sing just on Yadai the Lecha Dodi melody that we did earlier. And we'll do that to close out. And as we're singing, we'll see the final screen. I want to remind you to join us tomorrow night for our virtual gala. And if you haven't already found the link and gotten the information you need, you won't get the link quite yet, but you found the website. It is sinaigala.org. sinaigala.org. So I hope you will all enjoy tomorrow night, that you'll all join us. Okay, we're going to close out now with Lecha Dodi, but on Yadai.